Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome along to your afternoon rabble here on the Rangers Rabble Podcast. I'm going to take one of the earphones. I can't do two earphones. Today, folks, I'm delighted to say that I am joined by Scott from the Rangers Journal. Scott, how are you?
Not bad at all, mate. Not bad at all. I was on a bit of a high until about an hour ago.
Well, we're going to jump. We'll probably just jump straight into that. But just before we do, hello to everybody watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. I think we've went from 6 viewers to 7 on Kick, which I believe is amazing numbers on Kick. So thank you for the 7 people that follow us on that. Follow us on socials on Twitter and YouTube, and of course, give the Rangers Journal a follow across all socials as well. I've linked them in the description.
Thanks, mate.
Scott, mate. I don't know. Is this kind of out the blue, the Russell Martin thing? I think there was a lot of us, right, that were thinking his name's mentioned, but it's going to be Ancelotti. We're not going to get Martin. A lot of fans were going, I don't really fancy him. But when Fabrizio Romano comes out, mate, and says it's nearly done, it's nearly done.
Aye, definitely. In terms of Ancelotti, I think Rangers have just dragged their heels too long. I think when he's come out via the Uber League piece with the BBC last week, I think that was a gentle push in the right direction for Rangers. In terms of Russell Martin, I can't say I'm surprised. I shoved a tenner on him at 61 last week just to soften the blow should this happen because I thought it would. Um, I'm not surprised with the appointment because his fit was questionable at times, but we had a Southampton podder on the journal when I was doing that manager series, Martin, and he says basically his style won't change, but his formations can. So it strikes me a wee bit of a Gio appointment, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah. Listen, I take that on board. Why do you think, and I asked this morning, why do you think, in fact, I've asked this about 17 times, why do you think there's such a kind of hesitancy with the Rangers support with regards to Russell Martin? Is it because he's British and because he's just another guy who's played for Rangers and it's not that exciting European appointment? Because I'm not going to lie to you, Scott, mate. I've not watched a lot of Southampton, right? I don't really know how Russell Martin's teams play. Apparently, it's boring possession football, is what I've heard. But why do you think there's so many Rangers fans going, I don't want him?
I think there's a stigma attached to him in terms of Mark Warburton, because he's basically a clone of Mark Warburton. To what I've read up on him and stuff like that. It's a possession based style of play. He gets the ball forward, but he likes to maintain possession while he's doing that. Now we've all got PTSD for the old horseshoe style of play, haven't we? Through Gio, come on, we've even done it at times. Nobody's really come into Rangers and let a handbrake off. Michael Beale's favourite saying when he came in. So I think that's where my anxieties are coming from within. I know the boys at the Journal are feeling exactly the same. Underwhelmed's probably the word for the appointment. But then if you're looking at it in a data perspective and an analytics kind of perspective, then he probably ticks a lot of boxes for the 49ers, which is the world we're living in now.
Yeah. One of the questions that I asked was, with the 49ers, will they look at like Rangers media, for example, the way that all the fans speak, tune into podcasts, listen to fan media, or they go down the traditional media route, the newspapers and all that, etc., etc. See, with regards to the owners, do you think it's a case of, and it will be a case moving forward, which is, I would say, mainly a positive thing? They're not listening to any noise on the outside. It's what they want to do. They're successful businessmen. They're worth billions. They don't, not that they don't care about the fans' opinion, but that they believe that this is the right thing to do. So they'll just go and do it regardless of what we think.
Well, if you take a previous Rangers board, Martin, Souness recommended Frank Lampard, and apparently Rangers seen the outcry on Twitter when Lampard was even suggested, and the Rangers board at that time decided not to. So we need a board with a backbone that's sometimes going to, I'm not going to be popular for saying this, but sometimes that go against the support and the best interest of the club. So I think that it's a ballsy call by them. I think it's fair to say. Very,
Is it
very.
is it is it going to make them unpopular right away, Scott?
It's not. It's not the best start, is it? Let's be honest. It's not. It's not the best start because you're not. we've been told about this massive takeover that's coming in, and all the millions that's going to be available, and then you've got Russell Martin in charge. And I think when it comes to Russell Martin, the job he done in the Premier League didn't really fill anybody with any hope. Put it that way.
Can we look at that Premier League though and kind of judge him on that? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the English media and stuff saying, look, he was trying to continue to play his brand of football. It clearly wasn't working for Southampton. Can we judge him on the Southampton in the Premier League, or do we judge him on the Southampton that was in the Championship?
I would probably judge him on the Southampton that was in the Championship, because he wasn't backed when he was. He wasn't backed when he got them promoted into the Premier League. The finances Southampton flung at them wasn't great, and he got a couple of players, but nowhere near what he should have got. So, in my opinion, I would probably back him for the Championship standpoint instead of the Premier League, because we all know what the Premier League's like. It takes you really need to dig in the first couple of years when you're in there and become almost like a Sean Dyche team. Very unpopular, hard to play against, win points on the road. You need to really roll your sleeves up. And if there's two ways this can go, Martin, it can either come in and be an ultimate fail, like we've seen in the last couple of years, or his FIPA's going to run over the top of every other team in the league. We're going to get back to beating your St Mirrens, your Dundees, your Hibs, Livingstons, Kilmarnocks, all this. And then the only really challenge he's got left is Celtic after that for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I did see somebody saying that, see, with regards to style of play, they're both very similar in regards to Russell Martin and Brendan Rodgers. So my only worry would be, Scott, are we going to be watching Old Firm games where it's going to be 90% of defenders passing the ball back and forward to each other?
Well, we could be. We could be. I've also seen comparisons this morning that his FIP is very similar to Ange's. How true that is, I don't know. Like I said, the Martin's maybe a possession-based coach. He's not about getting it forward in the wings and high pressing and all this kind of stuff. So we'll really just need to wait and see how all this pans out. But Old Firm games could be horrendous for the next couple of seasons if they are. If it is a clone of Brendan Rodgers, then I wouldn't really feel that great about the appointment, to be honest with you, because I don't think Rodgers is a great manager, to be honest with you. I don't think his Celtic team's great either. I think they were there for taking it. I don't know. Could be very.
No, we'll come back to that in a wee second. Secondly, what's happening on the journal, Scott? Obviously, you picked it up after Kai left. I think that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're pretty much on YouTube, Twitter every day, live. So what's happening over at the journal?
Well, we're trying to. I don't know. I'm just trying to make folk aware of it. If that makes any sense, Martin. I think it's. I say. Well, let's be honest. We're working in a congested market, aren't we?
Yes.
Market. It is what it is in that sense. But Kai left because he wanted to go in Daisy and Hing. He wanted to go in. He wants to be a scout, basically. So that's what he's away to try and forge. And good luck to him. I'm still very tight with Kai. I'm still pretty close to him. Still speak to him quite regularly. But a journal perspective, we're still trying to churn out the scouting identity that Kai gave it. Add in a wee bit of tactics and just do pods kind of Monday to Friday and see where it takes us. But there's no a kind of long term plan in place for it, mate. It's just try to provide different content for Rangers supporters, basically, isn't it?
There never is long term planning in it, and then the next day you're planning stuff, and it is a congested market, but there's still plenty of space. The good news from the Rabbles perspective is we know nothing about tactics. So you're absolutely safe there, because we know absolutely hee-haw about tactics. In fact, one of the guys who used to be on the pod, who's now got his own show, Care, on not another Rangers podcast, said there was a game of free halves once. That's how poor our tactical knowledge is over here. But look, let's try and look, if we can, at some positives of Russell Martin coming in. Now, I say Russell Martin coming in, it's not 100% guaranteed, but again, I'll repeat myself. When Fabrizio Romano comes out and says something, he doesn't come out and say something unless it's like 99.9% done, right? But see for players like, oh, I don't know, Rabbi Matondo, right? Don't punch me, right? Cyril Dessers, Connor Barron. Can Martin's style of management in play, can that help some of the players that we've got at the club now?
It could do, but I think it depends what the wage structure is going to be, I suppose, in terms of that question, because we've done a lot of clearing out the big earners last season. Connor Goldson, Lammers, Cantwell, etc. Matondo, Dessers, Tav even falls into that category. So it really depends what the long term strategy is from a financial point of view, I would say. I liked the way we done business last summer. Obviously, there was a lot of hits and misses with Cobham, but he found us, like Tigerman and stuff. I would still quite like to do that, but bring in the necessary quality needed. This team needs a massive facelift, and now that we've appointed Russell Martin, that job just became much bigger because we now need to get good ball playing centre backs. We now need to get somebody in midfield that can take a ball. Let's be honest, Martin, we've not been a Rangers team that's controlled a game in God knows how long, and that's what we're going to do now. So we now need to go out and buy Russell Martin the players needed to be able to implement that game. So I don't think our midfield, as good as Raskin and Diamande is, I don't think we've got enough for a commanding presence in the middle of the park. Almost like a
No,
bar.
we're too weak.
Somebody
We're too weak all over the pitch.
Aye, definitely. We need somebody to come in and dictate to play, run a show basically. But we'll just need to wait and see in terms of how they go about doing that, because he does need the quality to implement his style of play. That's how he failed at Southampton in the Premier League. He didn't have the quality. There's no doubt the guy's fit is good on the eye. There's no doubt he's tactically manageable. I mean, there was a game at Leeds where they went to Ellen Road, I think it was in the playoffs, and he changed to a 4-2-3-1 to a 5-4-1, and I think Southampton beat Leeds 2-0 or something at Ellen Road that night. So he can do it, but you'll need the players basically to implement his style.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that that's going to be for the first time in a long time, Scott. But the least of our problems getting players. I really should look this up because I've been saying it for months now. In terms of Scotland, I'm not sure that there's any sort of financial fair play kind of regulations. I don't think there is. Obviously for Europe, but we need to be careful what we're doing because obviously we need to get into that Champions League and we don't want anything to come back for FFP for that. But for the first time in a long time, Scott, mate, I don't think we're going to have an issue signing players.
No, I definitely don't. No, I definitely don't. Especially the way he plays his football, I think that's going to benefit us because I think it'll be attractive to players because it's good on the eye. The money that we're going to have is all there for us to see. 20 million, I believe that's just an initial investment. I don't think that's the transfer kitty at all. I think there's going to be much more. This is probably the biggest rebuild that Rangers have done in 45 years, I would say, and we've been rebuilding for a long time now.
Well, there's going to be apparently what we'll do is we'll finish up about say 5-1 at the latest, which will let you get back, Scott, just in case, because what I'm hearing might not be true. Is there's going to be an announcement at 1:00.
Right. Okay.
So that's what I'm hearing. They Rangers tend to announce stuff when I'm live, just so that everybody else can start their shows and get all the views, Scott, and take them all off me. That's what they tend to do. There's so many people in the comments are going after nut at this. I get it, right? I get some people aren't happy, but the other alternative, Scott, let's put it into perspective. The other alternative was a guy who has never been a head coach or a manager, albeit assistant manager, extremely successful. His dad was one of the biggest in the world, but it's not like we were going for Carlo Ancelotti and we're getting Russell Martin.
Aye, I know what you mean in that question. I think the type of appointment, we've had this type of appointment before. Somebody coming in with championship experience. We know we've got PTSD if it doesn't really work, whereas the David Ancelotti was very similar to Steven Gerrard coming in, whereas it's his first job, he's got a big name. Guillem Beleg's talking about Luka Modric and all this in articles, and we're all getting my hopes up. And now we've got a guy with one championship promotion. That's basically the cold hard facts here, and it's not an exciting appointment, but I think this could work domestically. If he gets the players. I keep getting back to that, Martin, but he needs the players to make this work. Because if he doesn't get them, then it's just going to be an absolute shambles. We're probably going to alter our style of play in Europe as well. I don't think we're going to get the same results we used to get. I mean, see if we get Benfica in them Champions League qualifiers, we try to play ball out for back. Do you know what I mean? With John Suit on that. You'll do
What? John Sutter's the greatest ball playing defender I've ever seen. Scott, I don't know what you're talking about. Would you sacrifice? And the owners wouldn't, right? Because they need the money financially. But just for you personally, as a Rangers fan, would you sacrifice maybe 1 or 2 really poor years in Europe, right? Like not even qualifying, or maybe even going back into the Europa League, but not doing too well. Would you sacrifice that for 1 or 2 years for success at home?
100%. 100%. It's not even a question to me, because we've been so starved of domestic success for so long now that we need to be able to. That needs changed. See, if we're winning in Scotland, Europe will take care of itself. You know what I mean? I want to get back to having a manager that can he's got domestic football. He's got it under his heart. He knows how to win. But when it comes to European football, he can't quite crack it, if you know what I mean. I think it's fair to say when Walter was ways, I think Walter was quite like that in Europe, apart from the 2008 Manchester run. Big Ek
92, 93.
Aye, Big Ek was the same. He got us to the last 16 Champions League, but otherwise you were kind of hitting a miss, you know what I mean? So I would take that in a heartbeat, to be brutally honest with you. I think we need to get back to a short-term success for a long-term strategy of then making strides in Europe. We need to be able to walk before we can run.
100%. Listen, mate, 100% agree. I mean, I don't know what age you are, right? But you're probably a lot younger than me. But I think back to the days of the late 90s, growing up through the 90s, and then Walter's second spell in charge of the club, and Rangers winning things, and being young when Rangers are winning things. We've lost how many young supporters just out of Rangers being naff in Scotland. It's brilliant doing well in Europe. You know, I went over to Seville. It was great to get to a European final. But you're 100% right, mate. We need to get back to not just winning leagues, but remembering how it feels to consistently win leagues.
Aye, let's start with challenging for them, mate. You know what I mean? Let's get back to your helicopter Sundays and taking the league into a split. A split used to be brilliant for that, because you didn't know who was going to drop points, depending on who was playing away. Pressure was there, but a split's been poor because there's not been a competitive Rangers to give them a run for their money. That's the one thing in Brendan Rodgers' time that we haven't done, is challenge him. So it would be interesting to see. That needs fixed first, because for 49ers to turn a buck, they need Champions League football, and to get Champions League football, the best chance of getting is winning the league.
Can I just say, if Aldo watches this back, and there's loads of Aldos, right? But the Aldo will know who I'm talking to. I owe you a travel mug, mate. I owe you a travel mug. Beep Bop Boop. Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. And I think this is a wee bit excessive, Scott, mate. Hope Russell Martin proves me completely wrong, but Celtic's biggest competition this season could be Derek McInnes's Heart of Midlothian. I mean, that's taking it to extremes.
Aye, big time. I think we need to see what happens over the course of the summer first, what players come in. See if we get 3 or 4 proper quality players with good pedigree in, we'll be alright. We'll be fine. Obviously, there'll be a lot of stuff around that in terms of squad fillers and all that kind of stuff. There'll be project players, but I'm meaning real proper quality statement signings. If we get that, then there's no chance Hearts are going to be able to compete for second or first.
I mean, McInnes nearly relegated Kilmarnock last season. So
Exactly.
but I think that goes to the anxiety that I don't think this is going to be a popular appointment at all. Normally, Scott, you get maybe 60-40, 70-30, right, at a max. And that's just, I'm just talking people online. I think this could, from what I can only go by what I'm seeing, and you see pretty much exactly the same things as me. This is like a 95-5, a 90-10.
Aye.
Fans not happy.
Aye, it's grim. It's completely grim. It's because of the. It's because of the excitement of the takeover that we had on Friday. To get Russell Martin was the only one that everybody didn't want. Gerrard or Ancelotti, I think with Gerrard you'd have got a 70-30, 60-40, 65-35 them kind of percentages. With Ancelotti, everybody got on board with it because of who he is, where he's worked. Was the exciting thing. Now we've got Mark Warburton 2.0 to a lot of supporters, but that style of football can be successful in this league. That's what we need to remember, and that's all we need to do is get back to beating the basics of the SPL. It's not a hard job in that sense. He just needs the players to be able to go out and do that, and then the Celtic games, I mean, they'll take care of themselves. But in terms of domestically, I'm probably feeling a wee bit better about it because it's somebody that's coming in knows the league. It's not like Ancelotti, where I think he would have had to learn to go away to Livingston and go away to Kilmarnock and all these different places and generate what atmospheres like, the quality of the teams. He didn't need this season up to learn all that. Russell Martin should be coming in to be able to pick that up and know what's required, and I firmly believe his style of football will be able to do a good enough job within the league. But in terms of Europe, I think I can't see last 8 Europa League, last 16. I don't think you're looking at anything like that now.
Does that passing football, and I'll finish up on this, mate, just in case there is a 1 p.m. announcement, right? Does that passing football, does that work against a low block, though, in Scotland? Because that is the one thing that I'm fed up talking about low blocks, right? But that's the one thing that's constantly spoke about with Rangers. We can't break through that low block. Doesn't matter what manager we put in place. Does pass, does that work?
No, but what I've been wanting to see off Rangers the last couple of years, Martin, is just somebody that can get a ball to byline and skin the fullback. There's too much tippy-tappy passing footballing about football these days instead of there's nobody really beats their man anymore to create space. That to me is how you should always beat a low block. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of Russell Martin's style of play, I would imagine there'll be wee triangles and intricate passing and players running into different areas and whatever else. It's certainly not going to be a boring Rangers team to sit and watch. Maybe in possession, but see, as soon as we get past that halfway line, I think it's going to be pretty aggressive and pretty attacking, if I'm being honest. But how fast it will be, I don't know. That's the question.
Yeah, well, Lyndon's asking, are you saying that we need Scott Wright back?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, man.
Right, go and spread it about, folks. Scott for the Rangers Journal says that Rangers need to get Scott Wright back. Right, make that a tagline in your socials. Listen, Scott, mate, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No, any problem at all. Thanks for having me, pal.
No worries. And I'm hearing now that there won't be, there might be. I don't know if there's going to be an announcement, but we'll cut it just 5 minutes short there, folks, just in case. You'll be seeing our two beautiful faces back on the airwaves at some point. Please do like, share and subscribe, folks. It really does help the channel out. Like I say, check out the Rangers Journal as well. The links for that are in the description of this video. Thank you for the super chats as well. Thank you for everybody who's tuned in. Like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff. Shamdog saying, sack the new board. I'm with you, mate. Sack the new board. There we go. That'll solve all the problems. Scott, mate, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And we'll speak very, very soon.